Hey, what's up, guys? I'm NPen. I'm a professional Fortnite player and content creator who's been competing for over 6 years, and I'm going to teach you guys about peeking and angle advantage. So the biggest thing about angle advantage, the benefit to having good angles in Fortnite, is that you limit the amount of damage you're taking in a fight, which means that you control the fight. So if you're fighting someone and you take 150 damage, then you're automatically at a disadvantage. So if you're opening at it like this and the person's on the other side of the wall and you're giving yourself an easy angle for them to take on you, they're always going to be able to shoot first, which means that you're just not going to get your shot off and you're giving them the advantage. So the positive to having a good angle is you create your own shot and you have the advantage there. So on this side, obviously everyone knows like the peanut butter peak, or a lot of people know the peanut butter peak. It's pretty much one of the basic peaks you can do on almost any wall when someone's against your wall to give you the best advantage, because when you're behind it, you jump and that gives you the advantage rather than them having the advantage from standing there. Another thing in Fortnite, peeker's advantage, which it's just a thing based on like your internet and the servers as well. If you're peeking an angle, you will always be able to shoot before the enemy can shoot. So if you edit a window like this and you're on the other side here and this person's looking at you, if you're running from the right to the left here, you're gonna be able to shoot them when they're standing here in front of you before they can shoot you. You always wanna try to be the one making the angle and taking the peek rather than being peeked. Most times a right-hand angle is the best angle to take. So if I'm making a window, I wanna be going from left to right to peek them. But even if you're taking the angle and you're on the left and you're taking a left-hand peek on someone, if you're moving fast enough and they're not the ones moving, you can have the advantage on the left hand sometimes. It's more about just making sure you're the one taking the angle and being aggressive rather than letting someone take it on you and then they have the advantage that way. For taking a good peek and having good angles is one of the #1 things that matters in competitive play, because you're just minimizing the damage you're taking, which then allows you to not have to heal up during the fight, kind of control the fight. Yeah, it just makes it so your opponent knows that they aren't making or taking as many shots that are going to hit you, which gives them, you know, more of a, they're more worried they're fighting a good player if they know you're taking good angles. So practicing on something like this is really good because it'll let you practice edits from any angle. Pretty much like it'll build your muscle memory, make you more comfortable taking different edits. Something like a peanut butter edit, you want to make sure you're able to stay against the wall while editing the wall. So like if you're all the way to the left here, it's harder to edit the wall, but you can still, you know, if you get this muscle memory down, then it's way easier for you to be behind the right spot for the edit, instead of having to like stand in the middle, take the edit and then move here, because then the person's going to know you're going for the angle and they're going to move away and you won't have the shot you need anymore. But then you can head into a section on a map. There's a ton of different maps, but if you go into something like peak training here, you can start off with it on easy mode and you can give the bot 1 HP. And to start, it'll react a little bit slower. So like if I edit the wall here, I'll take damage about a second after the wall edits. And that's how you know, like, okay, that's the, you know, if I'm standing on this angle, he can shoot me here. This is bad. But if I make a peanut butter like this, I jump up and I shoot, I take no damage and I get the shot off first. Eventually, you can go all the way to 200 HP and make it on hard mode, and this will make it so you have to take the like most perfect peek you can ever take. And if you're practicing like this, then you know, like, no matter who you're versing, they would never be able to take a shot. So that was a bad peek because he can move left on me and then it's able to do damage. But if you're taking perfect angles, like even there, I'm taking damage. If you're taking perfect angles, it won't do damage to you. It'll just teach you muscle memory for peaks. So even like shooting the wall, he was able to shoot me through it because the reaction time on the bot is fast enough where it'll do damage. Most times players wouldn't be able to do that, but if you take a good peanut butter peek, like, or a good window peek, it'll do no damage to you. So like these are perfect angles because the opponent's head is too high for the window. Like it really can't see you because you can see its foot, but it's not able to shoot you because its head's all the way up here and it just can't see any part of you. In addition to this, watching pros play the game is super good as well. Most pros are taking really good peeks at all times. So if you watch a pro and you kind of like mimic what they do, they're gonna take similar angles in a lot of fights over and over and over. The disadvantage that I didn't talk about for a peanut butter peek like this is that the bot or the player that you're versing can play close to the wall and he can run into your box. And then the second that he runs your box, even though he's taking a left hand, like I was talking about earlier, he has peeker's advantage because he's moving into the angle. So anytime a player is moving kind of towards your right side of the wall, rather than taking the peanut butter and letting him in your box, it's better to make the window peek because he can't run in, and then you have a perfect angle where he's gonna be running against this wall here, and you have the advantage on him. Another angle a lot of people don't do, even pros I don't see do it a lot, is you can do like a bottom peanut butter peek almost. And so if the bot is on the top of the ramp, I can see his foot here. He can't see me at all, and so you can still hit like 100 damage on their feet. So you can kind of just get like little chip damage. You'll never be able to just, you know, headshot the enemy or like 200 pump them. But you can get like chip damage on their feet and they'll never be able to hit you the whole time. You need to figure out the muscle memory to be able to take peeks in quick succession and know what works and know what doesn't. Window peeks, peanut butter peeks, and those bottom peeks I'm teaching are probably the best 3 to take in most scenarios, which will stop you from taking damage, which then just gives you a huge advantage in your actual fights. All right, so say you're in a box with an enemy like this. They're below your ramp. A lot of people would take the peek where they either 50-50 like this and they flip their ramp and the enemy's yellowing it, so then it's just a straight aim fight. But he already has his gun out, so he'll be able to shoot every single time. But if you put the ramp over the enemy and you take an angle like this, you automatically create the right hand peek. And no matter what, even if I jump down here, right, I have this right hand peek right here, so I'd be able to 200 this. And every single time I can shoot before he's gonna hit me. But if he stays behind the ramp on the left side, which I don't think the bot's gonna go do right now, but if he was able to stay on the left side like a normal player would do to try to avoid that peek, then you can drop down and you'll be able to shoot his feet without them seeing you. So if he was in this left corner, you'd be able to shoot the feet every single time. But if they're in the right side of the box, you can jump over and you can peek like this and reset the ramp and then hold it every single time. So that's like the best peek to do if you're in a box. If you have a cone on the player, it's much harder. You can't really make the cone into a good peek without kind of 50-50. So if you're in a box with a cone, the best thing to do is get out of the box and then make a window edit. And that way, like, you control them in the box and you still give yourself the best angle. But another good thing about peeking is you don't have to always peek from the same side. So if there's an enemy in a box and you kind of control everything around them, you can always switch up the angles you're taking. So I can edit a wall like this and then bait them into thinking I was going to go that side and then peek that way. And there's a lot of different combinations you can do, a lot of different ways you can go about it. Switching up the angles you're taking wall to wall is another huge thing that a lot of pros do and that a lot of like more casual players don't take into account. But confusing your opponent is like one of the biggest things that's good. So if you're above a player and you have them stuck below you, a lot of peeks or a lot of times a player would just wide open an edit like this and try to 50-50 the fight. But rather you could get on top and you can create a right hand for yourself using the floor. And because this little guard pops up when you make a floor edit, you can't really see the player's head if they're far enough back. And then as you're peeking, you can kind of push up and take the shot and then reset it. But you want to make sure anytime you're ever resetting a floor like that, or you're shooting and then resetting, you need to hold your build piece that you're standing on instantly after, because most times the opponent's going to try to shoot back and either hit you or and break the floor, or they're going to try to shoot it and take the floor back. So you want to make sure you're holding that so you don't accidentally fall into the box and then make it a 50-50. But see there, like most players jumping like that, they won't be able to hit you. But this bot just has really good reaction time, so it'll hit you sometimes on angles that seem like you wouldn't be able to get hit on by a normal player. So the best way to kind of minimize your exposure against the enemy is try to mirror the movement of the enemy when you're on the wall and you control it. So say you have the opponent box like this, they're gonna try to make a right hand peek for themselves on the edits that you're making. So like I was saying before with the peanut butter peeks, an opponent will mostly move to the right side of your wall, which is, you know, the left side of their wall, and make a right hand for them. Like the only angle he can really peek me from is if he goes all the way over here in this corner. So you want to make sure you're kind of trying to move more left when they're moving more right, because they're going to be constantly trying to create a right hand angle for them, which means you need to create more of a right hand angle for yourself. So you can bait a peanut butter peek like this, force them in this corner, and then reset it and make it into a window peek, and always have your crosshair in the right spot to shoot them. Another thing, maximizing damage on angles. Crosshair placement is when you're ending an edit and you see the opponent standing still like this, right? Or wherever they're standing in the box. If you can end your edit on their head, then you don't have to move your crosshair anywhere to shoot them, right? So instead of ending your edit down here and having to flick to hit your enemy, which means, you know, obviously you're going to miss the shot, you're going to hit them low HP or low damage. If you can end the edit near where their head is, then it's much easier to hit a 200 pump rather than flicking your mouse across your screen. So that's the best way to maximize your damage, is always just try to finish the edit where the opponent's head is, or if you obviously can't see the head from the angle you're taking, finish it where you can at least hit the enemy pretty consistently. This means that you don't have to have as good aim, like you don't have to have crazy aim, if you can just finish your edit there, because you're always kind of aiming where the enemy's going to be. Anytime you're playing anything, try to, instead of doing like the most damage in a fight, try to take the least amount of damage. If you can make yourself take the least amount of damage while still peeking the enemy, even if you're hitting them 40 and you're taking 0 damage, you're still controlling the fight. So like if I'm taking peeks where I can barely see their foot, but I can still get a shot off, like 100 damage there isn't too bad because I took 0, rather than like, you know, wide peeking it, hitting them 100 and getting hit for 150. Then you guys both have to pause and heal and the fight goes on, which can make you get third partied or might lose you all your heals after you finish the fight. Taking 0 damage while taking those shots is better than hitting somebody 180 and also getting a hit 180. You know what I mean? So if you're trying to practice by watching other pros, the best thing to do is kind of see the angles they're taking consistently across different scenarios, like different fights. See when they take certain angles and what works and what doesn't. Because obviously a pro's never going to make 100% of the right decision. Like they will always make mistakes, so you don't want to just copy exactly what someone does, because then you don't know what they're doing right and wrong. You want to be able to identify what angles are correct and like what angles are bad. Like what, you know, if they take a peek and they get hit 100 but they still do 100 damage, was that a good peek? Probably not. Like it was, you know, an even trade, but it's better to focus on the angles where they have somebody that is, you know, trying to verse them against their wall and they're doing damage without taking any damage. That's how you know it's a good angle. So while you're watching other people's either VODs or their streams or their YouTube videos, just try to like use critical thinking to realize what's a good peek and what's a bad peek. You know, did they make a mistake in a fight? You know, because there's always going to be positives and negatives to every single fight that someone takes. It just comes down to you using your ability to like figure out which was good and which was bad. The biggest thing to not, you know, get nervous in a fight or lose your mental is just realizing that, you know, every game is going to end, and every tournament's always going to end. There's, you know, either you win or you don't. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. You just have to focus on yourself getting better over time. You play the best of your ability, and if you lose, you can improve on it. Like, you're always gonna, at the beginning especially, you're always gonna fail before you succeed. So it's better to fail, learn from it, than, you know, just worry about the single tournament that you're playing and expect to win it every single time. Like you know, want to keep a good mental by realizing that like you just have to play to the best of your ability, and if you do good, you do good, and you can learn from your wins. But if you fail and you don't win the tournament, then you can, you know, you have more to learn from. It's definitely way better to try to practice and fix your mistakes over time than get bummed out because you lost and just give up. So if you're in a disadvantage in a fight, you've lost all your heals, you still need to win. You don't want to give up on yourself and just assume that it's over. Don't, you know, make a rash decision, just jump in the box if you don't have to. You know, you can still take smart angles, and that's where the muscle memory will kick in from you practicing as the best peaks you possibly can. Say you're down damage, you hit them 150. After you get some damage on them, don't be afraid to play aggressive. You know, you don't want to just let them heal back up and hide. You want to be able to capitalize on the damage you deal and put pressure on them, because then that's probably going to make them make a mistake, right? You got to realize every person you're fighting against is another human being who also gets nervous in a scenario. And it's anybody's game. You know, you never want to just let somebody else control the fight because you assume that they're way better than you. The best player in the world could lose to the worst player in the world. It doesn't matter. Like, at the end of the day, you can make something out of any fight that you're in. And, you know, your game is never over till it's actually over. Your tournament's never over till it's actually over. You just have to play the best of your ability. So that's everything to know about angle advantage and peeking in Fortnite. Don't forget to practice your edits from different angles, build your muscle memory with every sort of peek, and before you know it, you'll be feeling much more confident in fights. Shout out to Gonna Need Milk, good luck to everyone competing, and I'll see you guys in the next FNCS.